This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
Stacy, we're here.
We are.
At the 105th National Convention.
In New Orleans.
In NOLA.
As far as I know, that's Louisiana, right? Is that where we're at?
It is. The heat definitely makes me think and confirm 100% New Orleans.
We are in the deep South. Not dirty, though.
Yeah.
Contrary to what usually supersedes the deep South.
So this is our first time coming and podcasting. We're here on the exhibit hall floor. We're in this awesome podcast booth.
That is sponsored by WellCare. Thank you, WellCare.
Thank you, WellCare.
Thank you, WellCare.
Yeah, how's it been? What do you think?
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
So many really great people. And I feel, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, every 2 feet that we take trying to get from one location to the next, you stop and talk to somebody for at least 5 minutes.
No, every 2 feet, somebody stops and tries to pet Charlie because he's so cute.
This is true. Charlie is much more popular.
He's way more popular than me.
Than anybody.
Than anybody, yeah.
True.
Yeah. What's been your favorite booth other than maybe?
I have to say
After
there
Action?
is a ton of, well, thank you, yes, After Action booth.
After Action's here.
After Action is here. I have to say there are a ton of booths here that are vying for a ton of attention. Quilts of Valor.
Yeah.
There's also SOS, which is an amazing organization, which I hope that super producer Holly is going to arrange for us to have on the show as a guest in a future episode. We'll get that queued up soon. Super
producer Holly has been getting us some great guests that are here. Obviously all of them here. Waco didn't have an exhibit, but most have an exhibit and have a booth.
Yeah.
But we're missing somebody. We're missing Joe.
Joe,
well, we miss you, buddy.
Joe.
But Guide Dogs is here.
Yeah. So America's Vet Dogs, their booth is right next to After Action. So
yes.
I got to get some puppy love. Charlie had some cold noses right next to him to play around with. It was good. And, there are a tremendous amount of vendors, but also Legionnaires, alphas alike, just running around, having a good time, and connecting. And, hey, be the one. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah, we had the second annual Be the One symposium, and I got to MC that, and it was an absolutely incredible day. So honored, so many great guests and speakers. And we also sat down with Waco and got to hear a little bit about that, a little bit about Be the One 3 years in, and then also what's to come. So we have a great sit down with Waco.
Yeah.
And we sat down with, I don't even know, maybe 5, 6, 8 different guests.
That's how crazy it's been at this convention.
Yeah.
We don't even remember how many people we talked to.
Yeah.
All amazing, though.
It's absolutely been amazing.
They were like, let's keep it at 10 minutes. 20 minutes later, we've been 20 minute conversations.
We just get on here and we just tap in and just start talking. But they've been absolutely great conversations. Learned so much, as always. And I think some are maybe even going to come back for longer shows.
We're going to do some longer shows. So we hope that you enjoyed the podcast we've got coming up. So just know that if it's not enough, if you're not sated, prepare yourselves. We got some longer ones coming.
Talking about suicide is hard, but the American Legion has joined forces with Columbia University to develop training for those who want to learn more about interacting and responding to veterans who may be in crisis. American Legion Be the One training. In the 90-minute class, you'll learn to understand the types of suicidal ideation and 4 behaviors that indicate imminent risk, how to use the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale to determine at-risk individuals, how to identify risk factors and warning signs, and how to communicate effectively with individuals who may be at risk of hurting themselves. Online and in-person sessions are available. Visit betheone.org/training to find a session. Learn the skills that'll give you the confidence to talk about suicide and be the one to save just one veteran.
All right, Steve Burke from Grouper, tell us a little bit about you. You're an Army veteran. West
Yes,
Point
I am.
grad. From New Hampshire.
That's right. Yeah, from New Hampshire. Served a tour in Iraq in 2005. Done a lot of things in my career, but kind of ended up a grouper because I was looking to do something that kind of gave back a little bit more, right? Instead of like your normal corporate America stuff where everyone's just trying to make a little money. And a childhood friend of mine is the CEO of Grouper and gave me this fantastic opportunity to come help do something kind of neat.
Well, I mean, listen, I heard grouper, and I had no idea what grouper is. So for those out there who are tuning in, what is grouper? Can you break it down for us?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
So Grouper is a brand new kind of fitness benefit. And if you have a health insurance plan through work or anything else, you've probably seen in there's something that tries to encourage you to go to the gym, right? They pay some of your gym membership or something like that. And that's what fitness benefits have been. But there's this whole other side of fitness that has to do with your mental capacity, how you feel about yourself, right? Mental health. And it's that part of fitness that we're trying to provide a benefit for. And it's all about social connections, right? People these days kind of get stuck in their house and they're on social media and they're not doing in-person social activities. And it's really damaging to people's health, especially as you age. So what Grouper did is we went and created this benefit that's on Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement plans that pays people to join an organization that they're passionate about, like American Legion, and do in-person social activities, either with that group or with their friends or something like that. But it's all about creating social connections and being kind of a part of your community, feeling like you have that purpose, right? Those people that look forward to seeing you and that you're happy to see too.
So how long have you been with Grouper? And since you've been there, what's some of the things that you've been working on specifically? And what are some of the results that you guys are seeing bringing people together this way?
Yeah, so I've been there about a year now.
Yeah.
Gosh, we've changed a ton since then. When I started, we had maybe a handful of kind of partners, organizations. Now we have, I think, close to 150 different partners out there. So, we're looking to partner with things that people really enjoy doing, right? So whether it's, going to the post or, maybe people like to garden or play golf or go skiing, whatever it is. So we're looking for big organizations, right, that can take people in and provide them that kind of connection to other people that are passionate about the same things. So we've kind of exploded from that perspective.
So like if you're in the Legion and you're part of a grouper, then you just find a group with other Legion members that are doing the same thing, or?
Yeah, so if you want to join Legion, right,
Yeah.
and the grouper benefit is on your Medicare plan, or if you're already part of Legion and you have a Medicare Advantage or supplement plan that has our benefit, we'll pay them $50 for either having joined or going to join. And then we pay them another $20 as an ongoing activity benefit to be in-person social just once a month. So the bar's really low, right? We're trying to get people out of their house, go do something in person, right? Have fun with friends because it makes you feel good and it's good for you.
Yeah. Well, I know that Adam and we talked to the Surgeon General, which was a really interesting conversation because he was talking about loneliness being one of the biggest killers in the U.S. And I think
The world. Yeah.
in the world, is it the world really?
Yeah.
And you said something about it being like worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So alphas, come on. Do you smoke 15 cigarettes a day? If you don't, and you're sitting on your couch and you haven't left the house today, dang it, get off the couch.
But not to smoke a cigarette.
No, not to smoke a cigarette. Go to the post. First of all, join Grouper. Let them renew your American Legion membership. Go down to the post. Get active. Rub elbows with some friends.
What do you think about digital communities? Because they're so prevalent and they're important, and they can definitely augment. But do you think it can replace like the in-person experience, or should it?
I think the jury's out on that. Some of the initial data that I've seen suggests no. Really important, like immensely important to have in-person social connectivity, right? Just online is, you can have like 1,000 friends online, but every study that's been done on that says you can only really have real relationships with a maximum of about 150
That's
people.
right. Yeah,
right?
I've heard that.
I have one. It's my husband. And Charlie.
One follower? One friend?
One follower. Well, yes. One real life friend. 5,000 acquaintances.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, what a pleasure to have you. Is there a website for Grouper? Where can we find you guys?
Hellogrouper.com.
Hellogrouper.com. Hey, everybody. We are at the National Convention in New Orleans, and we have a very special guest. We are here with the Deputy Director of the U.S. Mint, and her name is Kristie McNally.
Yes.
We are really, really lucky because she's obviously like super up there with the Mint, and she's here to talk about a special coin that's for the World War II memorial, and it's one of 2 coins that are created to benefit something very, very special. So I'm going to let you talk about it because I could blab on about it all day, but it's better coming from you.
So we normally have up to 2 commemorative coins, and this year we were lucky. The World War II Memorial Greatest Generation coin is coming out. We actually have it here with us at the convention. It honors the Friends of the National World War II Memorial, and surcharges go to help benefit them and the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. It's $35 for a gold coin that's sold, $10 for the silver coin, and $5 for the clad coin. If you buy a set, it's up to $50. And that goes towards them to help run the World War II Memorial.
Well, I think this is so cool. Stacy, have you been to the World War II Memorial?
Yes.
What did you think?
I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
There was, 400,000 individuals who died during World War II. My great uncle was one of them.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went to school at the Defense Information School in Washington, D.C., I think the World War II Memorial had just been opened up to the public. This was the late 90s. Was it 98, something like that it had been opened up and finished? And I was awe-inspired by it. So the fact that this coin's coming out on the heels of that is just, and it's really, really beautiful. Can you kind of describe to me what the coin looks like?
So there's 3 different coins. They're beautiful renditions that help honor the sacrifices of those who served in World War II. We work with the recipient organization. They helped come up with ideas of what they'd like to see in a coin. And we worked with them. We designed with our designers, and then they went through a selection process. And they're beautiful renditions that help honor those who served in the Greatest Generation.
Nice.
Yeah, so looking at the coins here on the card, right? So these are them, a beautiful gold, silver, and then clad. A verse? What is that? I've never even heard of clad.
So clad is kind of what a nickel's made out of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then
Did you know that?
It's what I'm allergic to, I think. I'm allergic to nickel, so that will be off my Christmas list.
Yeah,
I'll go
wouldn't carry
pure
around.
gold. Pure gold, everybody. That's what I'm getting. So let me describe to you. If you haven't seen the World War II Memorial, there is this beautiful water feature, and it's got these pillars, and each pillar has a wreath. And then on one part there are stars, and each star represents a number of individuals who perished during World War II. And it's reflected in the pool, and anyway, one of the coins shows the Wall of Stars, another coin is Lady Liberty, and then there's another coin that has soldier, sailor, airman. I think there's probably a Marine in there. And then obviously it looks like what is a Rosie the Riveter, and they're holding up the globe as if to say, this is the whole world at war, right? And what liberty looks like. So anyway, these coins look fantastic. And this would obviously be a really, really great gift, and the proceeds go to something very special and meaningful.
And you can buy each coin individually, or you can buy them as a set. So you can get all 3 coins at once if you would like to. And those, of course, raise more money for the the Friends of the World War II Memorial.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a really great gift idea. They're really beautiful coins, and the memorial is so important. Like Stacy said, if you've had the opportunity to go there and connect in some way to the 16 million veterans that served, and just see how beautiful it is with every representation of the Pacific and the Atlantic. And being from Texas, I always try and go find Texas, but I live in Alabama, and I realized that the Texas and Alabama is so close, almost as if it was made for me.
Oh.
But I think like if 2024 is a graduation year, or a beautiful anniversary, or just in all the ways in which this year is special, to be able to give somebody something like this that has so much meaning, and be able to continue the memorial so that others can go and enjoy it. I just think that that's beautiful, because you guys probably do a lot of cool events, but they're not always for veteran initiatives. But as a military spouse, it's probably a little bit more meaningful when it happens that way.
Yes, it definitely is more meaningful.
Yeah.
My husband's a Marine. My grandpa actually served in the Army in World War II.
Oh, wow.
So it was very touching to do the coin releases and be a part of it. We love the military at the United States Mint. We have various medals that honor different service areas. We've done an American Legion commemorative coin. We're doing a Marine Corps 250th commemorative coin next year. So
cool.
we really love being able to honor the military.
That's
and
right.
those who
You
serve.
guys did the Centennial coin for the Legion.
Yes.
So we're at the 105th, so about 5 years ago, if my math is correct.
So tell me, if somebody wants to order a set or order one of these beautiful three, where do they go to do that?
They can go to the usmint.gov, and we have a sales site right there where they can purchase. We also have availability in Washington, D.C. in our stores, or you can come see us at any different show that we might be at. So we'll love to see you there.
Yeah, we have a special guest and friend with us here today at the National Convention. This is my friend Kathryn Walker, CEO of Revitalist, and also a VMHLC Coalition partner organization. Katie, welcome to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
Yeah.
It's so good to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your journey to having a booth here, and what is Revitalist, and what should people know about it?
Well, you introduced me with that, right? But I think we both know that we're really big advocates for veterans, and you were asking me about that earlier. And one of my biggest drives, I think, in life is seeing people who don't know how to advocate for themselves, and we don't realize how much of that actually exists for everybody, right? So me personally, I've been a nurse for 20 years. I've participated in anesthesia for about 11 years, and then psychiatry for the last 3 years. So I know how to speak to all your medical professionals. I've worked with them all. I understand their personalities, but I also understand their egos. And unfortunately, right, what do we do when people come in and they're like, hey, I've got this going on. I brought this article. Can you look at this? What do we do? Well, did you go to medical school? Who told you can bring this? And what kills me is, like, we have people who are they're begging for help, and they don't know how to get the help that they're begging for. And us as providers, it's abusive behavior. We shut them down, So my piece is like, all right, you tell me what you need, and I will go in there for you. So that's the thing, right? With veterans, it's like, tell me, what's your brain doing? How are you feeling? Tell me your physical symptoms. Tell me your mental health symptoms. I've got amazing assessment skills. Like anesthesia-wise, I used to paralyze people for a living, right? Because we don't want people to move when they're having surgery so they don't die. So I could predict before they're going to start breathing, before they actually start breathing. Well, you give me a live body that's actually talking to me. Like, wow, I've got all these like tricks now, somebody who's actually informing me of their care. So I think, that's a big piece to me, is like, the adolescent population, your adult populations, your geriatrics. Right now in life, we're so focused on colors or sexes or whatever else. Nobody's looking at the periods in life that we go through. The new dads, the new moms, people getting out of the military, people getting into the military. Nobody looks at these lifespan things. So I think those are always getting overlooked. And so it destroys me almost to a point to where I feel like I've got to be advocating for this because nobody is yet.
Well, I think that's
why I'm here.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And so out of this, and out of this desire to be able to make a difference, Revitalist was kind of born within the last few years. So tell us a little bit about that and
Yeah.
that journey and what you're doing.
So Revitalist, I opened it up to like have a better work-life balance, which we know that didn't happen. I just work better now, like in several areas instead of just being in the hospital. But when I opened Revitalist, we were doing ketamine infusions, which I love ketamine. Psychedelics are on their way as long as we can get them there, without everybody else kind of exploding it. But when I was sitting with people and I was doing their consults, again, I was like, well, your therapist should talk to your psychiatrist. And they're like, oh, no, they don't like each other. I'm like, what do you mean they don't like each other? And they're like, well, the therapist thinks the psychiatrist is an idiot because they don't believe in medications. And the psychiatrist doesn't believe in therapy. I'm like, but no, they're the same sector. They should be speaking to each other. They're like, no, but they don't. And like, so it's like, I'd be sitting there, right? People would have like 9 specialists. They have like 38 medications. They have 18 diagnoses. And nobody's talking to anybody, and it's all siloed, and you've got the one person who should be being advocated for is the one who's actually dying because all their professionals won't play on the same playing field. So Revitalist was created, and it still is. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to hear what you need, and then I will help you with the skills that I have. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you move on in life. I'm not going to fire you as a patient, right? Providers do that all the time. And when I hear that, right, I'm just like, oh, you want me to call him? I'll call him and talk to him, But yeah, so Revitalist, we have ketamine clinics in the States. I work with, in the British Virgin Islands with psychedelics. We have supplements. And that's the other piece, too, is what's the language that's needed to advance all of this in the medical field to where the FDA hears it, the DEA hears it, Joint Commission, JACO, all those things. I know that language for them to speak, so I can take the community aspects and I can transition it to where they can hear it because I know their standards.
Well, you've also been able to speak the language of the VA as well.
And really it's called nagging.
But you've been able to figure out some stuff there and kind of pioneer some things with them just because of your relentless pursuit of being able to bring these things.
Yeah, sounds better than nagging.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the VA, I was blessed enough with the VA. So when I was just anesthesia when I came out, right, and opened Revitalist initially. And I tried to get to the VA. And I actually, they blessed me enough to turn me down 9 times before I was able to get in because they said, we don't need any of your providers. Like, you're anesthesia, you don't do mental health. And I'm like, no, I'm doing ketamine. And they're like, oh, we don't need any of that. So one of the guys I talked to finally, he was a higher up, he said, we don't have anyone in the state of Tennessee treating veterans with ketamine. He's like, I'm going to write you in personally. So he wrote me in personally in 2018. So from that time until today, it's constant that I told the VA actually the other day, I said, okay, I'm here to work with you, not against you. And let's try to work together so we can get more access for veterans. So,
I'm holding my hand up over here.
Yeah.
Because you guys know each other and you know what you're talking about. But for the idiot over here who has no idea and it's going right over my head, what the hell is a ketamine lab?
I love this. Can I? Yeah.
Please.
Okay. So ketamine, I'll do the short summary because we could be here for like 12 days. Ketamine is a medication that was created back in 1970. It was like the first safe anesthetic drug, okay? So we used it for a long time. In the 80s, it became known as a horse tranquilizer in veterinary medicine. It's because it's so safe for our animals. So they give ketamine to pups all the time because it maintains their cardiac and their respiratory resistance. So ketamine, it does at higher doses. It has hallucinogenic side effects. So other anesthetics were becoming more popular than ketamine. In the late 1990s, Yale University accidentally discovered, ketamine causes the brain to start regenerating on its own. Complete accidental finding, right? So they were trying to make little rodents schizophrenic. They were giving them toxic doses of ketamine to make the little guys look schizophrenic so they could treat schizophrenia. And they started seeing the brain was actually starting to, it's called neuroplasticity. So the brain was starting to make new pathways all of a sudden, and you remember back in the day, it's like, if you drink too much, you're going to lose that brain cell. You only get brain cells until you're 26, and you're not having brain cells when you get older.
Yeah.
Well, now they're seeing it's not the quantity.
That's me for sure. I have no more pathways.
It's not the quantity of the pathways, it's the quality of the pathways.
Okay.
So ketamine, such an amazing drug because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So our brain has this filter around it that keeps it protected and safe. There's only like 0.1% of medications that cross over. Ketamine's one of those. So ketamine crosses over. When it crosses over, it, like I tell people, it turns on a light switch. So it comes in and it blocks this one receptor temporarily for about 40 minutes.
Okay.
And when it does, it tells the brain it doesn't have enough glutamate. So glutamate helps to create all this new growth, right? So it blocks this. It says, hey, brain, you don't have enough glutamate. And the brain's like, oh, crap, I need more glutamate. So it starts making more glutamate. Glutamate then stimulates something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factors. Those are the new little guys that cause all the new pathways to come out. So people who have like inflammation, they have atrophy. Atrophy is just when it gets smaller. People who have thought blocking a lot of times, they're seeing that the neurotransmitters in communication, they're stopping. And it's stopping, which is creating, a lot of havoc in the brain. Ketamine's actually making more little, they're called dendrites. They're little, you have a highway, they're making more off-ramps. So there's more communication to the different highways in your brain, and there's just not like one little dirt path,
Right.
So ketamine stimulates that process. And the beautiful thing about it, too, is it's 6 infusions over the course of 2 to 3 weeks. So you're at the clinic for 90 minutes for 2 to 3 weeks. We're getting people off their medications. People are losing their suicidality. PTSD aspects are going down tremendously. Anxiety's going down. People with Parkinsonian symptoms, their tremors are getting less.
Wow.
Chronic pain. Like I had a guy, we're doing a lot of cool case studies, but I had a guy who was a quadriplegic, and he stood up during his ketamine infusion. And there is science behind that as to why it happens, but they're looking at ketamine that can actually stop this overproduction that's making the muscles not work. It can block that temporarily. So ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic. It's the only drug in its class. But now they're seeing that ketamine is acting like the other psychedelics, and what it's doing is it's just putting the brain into a neutral category. And that neutral category is what I talk about in my book, actually. The neutral category is...
This book, people.
That's me. I was in a rainstorm earlier today, if you're wondering. But the way... So when people tell me the way the brain works, I get frustrated sometimes because I don't think it's the way the brain works. What I've seen, what I've noticed with people, and I get people that cry on the phone, they're like, how'd you know this? I'm like, well, because ketamine and psychedelics are allowing me to cheat. When data comes in, what goes on in your brain? So they are saying, and they should hopefully eventually stop saying, it's not a chemical imbalance, it's causing mental health issues. There's an issue that's eventually causing a chemical imbalance. So when data comes in, if you the three of us are sitting here, somebody says a statement to us, you're going to have a different reaction. So am I, and so is Adam. And it's based on the way we were trained. And it's all of our experiences that we've lived in life, good, bad, or ugly, right? So, but we become innate to that pattern. So our brain is based off of patterns. But there's a lot of times when that data comes in, we can't do anything about it. So people who have suicidal thoughts, they're like, I don't want to kill myself, but I'm always thinking about killing myself. And people are like, oh, you need to call 911. When you go call 911, you go to the ER. I don't know if you guys have ever been in this situation, but I used to work in the ER. I know the whole situation. We're not trained to handle mental health. We will paralyze you, put you on a ventilator, restrain you in all 4 points, and you'll probably be worse traumatized leaving than when you came in.
When you arrived.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing about it, right, is like, if you have this neutral analytical base to when data comes in, you're seeing it from a third-party perspective. You're not feeling it from a first-person perspective. That's when you learn to get your control back. That's when you become empowered in who you are instead of feeling like you're being led on an emotional context.
So ketamine helps to kind of reset the brain in a way? Yeah, that's interesting.
Unfucks it.
So where can I come see you?
So I have two.
I need you, my friend.
I have 2 locations in Tennessee. So one in Knoxville, one in Johnson City. We have one in Tampa or Clearwater. But I'm working on a project to where we can be across the United States, because where we have the contract with the VA will cover vets 100% for ketamine therapies.
Okay.
You just have to know how to hold your mouth right and jump on one foot and tap your head,
Right.
But we're learning that, after 6 years,
that's
we're
right.
learning those pieces. But people, vets can always call me too, and I can always vouch for people in the space, good, bad, or ugly.
How do we find you?
Revitalist.com or revitalistsclinic.com, and the way I came up with that name, with Revitalist. So it's not a real word. Don't know if anybody knows that, but it's not. But vital life, revital, second chance of life, and then ist, having ketamine psychedelics kind of be those catalysts to give you a second chance of life. So that's it.
And we have guest Waco Hoover with us. Waco is the chair of the Be the One campaign. Waco, tell us a little bit about Be the One at the 105th, and also there was a special symposium a couple days ago. Tell us a little bit about it.
All right. Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, great to have you, man.
It's great to be here. So, we are now in the third year officially of Be the One, and it is quite literally all about how each and every one of us can be the one to be willing to have a conversation with somebody who might be in need. But Be the One is so much bigger than that. Really the foundation around Be the One is all about how we go upstream from crisis, how we identify and focus on upstream solutions so that fewer men and women ever get to the point of crisis. One of the big reasons why we've had 2+ decades of not being able to push down below 6,000 plus veterans dying by suicide every year is because we haven't oriented our focus on a lot of these other solutions. And what are some of those things that will ultimately impact whether somebody gets to a place where they feel like their life isn't worth living? Well, it's mental health, it's physical health, it's career health, family health, relationship health, community health, spiritual health. All of these things play a huge role in ultimately what we're doing. Only 10% of people who have suicidal ideation ever attempt suicide or die by suicide. So there's this whole other opportunity and this whole other strategy that we can employ to really focus on saving lives. And that's the foundation of Be the One.
Wow. That's great. I just want to pause there a minute. You said 10% of people who have suicidal ideation are the ones who, only 10% make the completion.
Right.
So that's a staggering number of people. That's 90% that don't, thankfully, that don't. So talk to me a little bit about some of the successes that Be the One has had, in preventing those 90% from making that completion, and what's ahead.
Yeah. So the program's been really, really incredible, and I want to talk just a little bit about the IndyCar partnership. And lots of people have different perspectives. Being very candid about that, but we are very much changing culture. If we're going to be successful with significantly reducing veteran suicide, and changing culture is a huge part of it. It is as important as anything that we're doing, as important as the research, because what it comes down to is people being willing to raise their hand and saying, hey, it's okay not to be okay. Being willing to have a conversation, being like, hey, Stacy, I'm not in a good place. Or you being able to identify those signals and symptoms. And the thing that's powerful about the IndyCar partnership is it's the power of entertainment, it's the power of media to create tremendous awareness for this issue. We need to bring it to the forefront of American consciousness. And right now it's not. Most people have no idea that there is an epidemic going on that we have with suicide prevention. The beautiful thing about it is the solutions, the things that we do to identify how we can tackle this issue, it's not just a military and a veteran problem, it's an American problem. And so all these same tactics and strategies we can employ, it will save teenagers' lives, like teenagers who are struggling with mental health, it's an all-time high. It'll save countless other Americans as well. So we are creating tremendous awareness that this is an issue. That's the power of that. Look at seatbelts, look at smoking cessation. There's countless of examples of big public health initiatives that have saved millions and millions of lives, and that's what we're doing. We're at the early days of really reshaping the conversation, the narrative around brain health and how we can talk about it and what people are willing to do or not. So IndyCar, a couple other things, everybody knows we have a big footprint with service officers on site. Through that program, we know there are 4 veterans whose lives have 100% been saved. At the race, they came and they said, I'm not going to be here. And we got them the help that they need. 4 lives, even just one, Be the One. It's all about starting there to start reducing that number. Also, Tony Cross, who's the Be the One manager, he is on the front lines having conversations with Legionnaires and other veterans about what they need. Since he came on board into his role last fall, he's had dozens and 167 plus conversations with veterans that need help, whether it's their benefits or they're about to be evicted and they have told him, I'm not going to be here much longer. So
this is creating and reshaping how we deploy resources to support men and women that are in crisis or need help. And again, the home thing, that's somebody who got to a point, they needed a plan. Oftentimes, it's not about, there's not something wrong with you. It's you get to a point where, you're having an issue with your significant other, or you're about to be evicted from your home, or you don't have a car to get to work, and the water is murky, and you need someone to reach down and pull you up to where you can have clarity. That's a huge part of what we're trying to do. A couple other things in terms of early wins. We just earlier this year in February, we announced the training program that we're working with Columbia University.
What is it called?
The Columbia Lighthouse?
The Columbia Lighthouse program.
Okay.
So the Columbia Lighthouse program is one of the most recognized suicide prevention training programs. And so we launched that training program for our staff and our Legionnaires in February. Since then, we've trained almost 4,000 of our members and staff.
Yeah.
And after next week, on Wednesday, we're doing a massive training in the General Assembly for thousands of our members. And after that, and also training auxiliary and other groups here this week with us in New Orleans, we'll be almost at 10,000, and we'll push just past 10,000.
So I was just going to say, when you say those 4,000, the Columbia Lighthouse is a practical tool to intervene with somebody like right at the point of I need help, or I'm potentially going to take action. So we think about like 4,000 people being trained, but then really think about those 4,000 people going back to their posts and their communities. So if you were to see like a demographic map of where that was populating and what that potential impact could be, it's absolutely massive in the fact that that's only within like the last 4 or 5 months.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask, is this like is the concept like a train the trainer situation where you've trained 4,000 and those 4,000 go out and then sort of train another 5 or 10?
There's a version of the course that's like that. We're just training individuals so they are armed with a few things.
Okay.
They're armed with how to identify signals and symptoms that somebody might be going through. Something as simple as someone starts giving away their personal belongings. But again, that in and of itself, in a vacuum, you wouldn't necessarily know that means somebody might be thinking about ending their life. So it really teaches you to identify those things, not too dissimilar from CPR, quite frankly. And we'll talk more about that. But so that's a big part of it. Then it also arms you with what to do. So training in and of itself is great, but having the tool to get somebody to the right resource at the right time is critical. It's not just hospitalization. Quite frankly, you don't want to just take somebody to a hospital or an ER if they're struggling with something. You want to figure out if they're at low, moderate, or high risk, so you can if it's a financial plan, a relationship plan. That's such a critical way that we need to rethink this, because again, stigma is such a huge part of the problem. And if you just take someone to the hospital and that's not the resource for them, they just need a financial plan to have enough money to make their rent on their apartment or their mortgage. We're actually hurting getting people to come forward and actually have a conversation, be willing to do that. So that's a big part of this, and a big part of what we're doing, again, this is a public health approach. So our long-term goal, we intend to train millions and millions of Americans around this. It's not dissimilar from CPR. So think of it as CPR for the brain. What happens right now if somebody right out there falls down and has cardiac arrest? If no one in this building or in this exhibit hall knows CPR, the chance of that individual living is very, very low. Now, if we rush over there, start mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, chest compressions, the chance of that individual living doubles to triples while we wait for emergency responders to get here. That's what we're trying to do with the brain. People don't just all of a sudden arrive immediately that they want to die by suicide, they want to take their life. It's a progression that happens over time, and we need to intervene over the course of that journey and pull them out of that.
Right.
Well, I just want to go back kind of to the IndyCar, because I think the IndyCar is so cool, but it's not just about being cool. It's about getting the message out there and getting in front of a lot of people. And so the practicality of that, it saved people's life on the team is incredible, but it's about transcending generations to be able to get the message out there. And I think like everybody comes to the Legion for something different. For me, it literally was Be the One. It was the focus on this mental health and this veteran suicide, because that's been a problem set that I've been trying to serve and be a part of for the last 10 years. And so, what good is the infrastructure of the Legion if we can't take care of the force that's going to be here tomorrow? And I think like the problems that the Legion is solving, and even in my own perspective of being at the symposium and getting the opportunity to MC it, which was an absolute honor, And to see the
we did a spectacular job, sensational.
Yeah, well,
Naturally.
No, it was so great, man. And I think like I narrowly focus, on the breakthrough therapy side of things, and I don't spend a lot of times on something like the Columbia Lighthouse or some of the other great programs. How technology is being able to influence and fill a critical gap in the care within the VA and things like that. So really, hats off to you. And for those that miss it, you don't want to miss the symposium next year in Tampa, spoiler alert. But to be able to have that wide swath of coverage on the programs. And the cool thing that I saw is that it's creating those conversations within the Legion now. So even so much so that at the end of the day, we had a gentleman, and I forget the post that he was from, but served in the Air Force and was able to say that just 5 years ago, he had attempted suicide and was on the other side of that. And these are the medications I'm taking, and this is how I'm processing and working through. And oh, by the way, like I want to show up and make a difference now. And just to be able to see somebody to be that vulnerable in front of an auditorium of like 100 people after a day of these discussions, it's just like the proof is in the pudding right there. And that's happening throughout the ecosystem, exactly right. But it's also drawing in that younger generation, like our generation.
It is. And the other thing that's just so, the training is one thing, it's very, very important, but the duality of it is it's normalizing the conversation. That's it. Since we started the training, I think in the first 90 or 120 days, we had over 12 people come forward and say, I tried to take my life. And they're still here with us. That was never happening before we started doing this. And so these very specific intentional things are incredibly powerful. So we know what we want to do from a big picture, but then there's all these assets and resources that we have available to us. And I tell everybody, being the one that the single most important thing that you can do right now that you have control of is take the training. Get trained. It's such a simple thing to educate yourself. And if you pulled this room or the exhibit hall, probably 99% of people have taken some type of CPR training at one point in their life or their career. That's the level of density that we need to get to with this across.
Is there
America.
an online version of either
Oh,
one?
absolutely. Yeah, you can. We have through next month in October, you can go sign up and you can do a live virtual Zoom for the training.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where can we find that?
BeTheOne.org. You can go find it, and anybody can sign up. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to be a Legion member. You can be a family member, a supporter of. This is for everybody. Quite frankly, it's equally as important for civilians to understand this as well. Taking the fight out there, that's a big part of this. Is most of us don't necessarily operate and live around the other veterans in the workplace. Some people, there's no other veterans depending on where you work. And so the awareness of something you might be going through, those signals, that's a huge part of creating more information.
Hey everybody, welcome. We are at the National Convention in New Orleans, and we are here with a very special guest, the Chief of Interment Services at Arlington National Cemetery, Norica Rojas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I learned a lot about what goes on at Arlington National Cemetery, but I want you guys to kind of experience this because it's a learning curve. Come on and learn with us right from the source. Tell us a little bit about the things that you're commonly asked on a routine basis that most people don't know.
I think some of the first things that people are commonly asked and they don't know, it's where to start.
Yeah.
When a death happens, what should I do? And I think the first thing to do, we have a call center, and the first thing to do is reach out to that call center. And the number there, it's 877-907-8585. So that's the first thing families should do, because that starts the process. Everything is about getting in that queuing, in the wait time, kind of waiting. Everything is about time. So if death takes place, I recommend the veteran or the family member reaches out to our call center to start that process and get in the queue. They don't need all the documents at hand to start that process. They just need to place that call.
Okay.
So I've never actually been to Arlington, and we were talking a little bit about beforehand. Tell us a little bit about what the experience is like and some of the things that you guys have to help somebody navigate through.
To help someone navigate through, so we have a lot of information on our website, Arlington National Cemetery. that mill. There's a lot of information there that families could ask, because many times families, sometimes the veterans don't know if they're eligible for Arlington or not. So I think going to our website to determine, am I eligible for Arlington? Because eligibility in Arlington varies from other cemeteries, so it's not one fits all. So I think knowing, going there, searching for the information, and then if they have questions, again, calling out to that call center number, and they'll be able to answer some questions that they might have if they can't find some of the information on the website.
Yeah, fun fact, my husband and I, we both went to the website, and we're both registered. And the thing is, we're going to be buried in hopefully the same
at Arlington.
plot, right? But
Wow.
depending on who gets the front or the back of the headstone, depends on who kicks the bucket first.
Oh. Good to know.
Based on that, so it's one grave per family, regardless if both of you serve. So based on the example you just used, let's say, you're both veterans.
Yes.
So, who is eligible for to be in that grave? Because again, eligibility varies and how you served, your awards and things like that, where you could go above or in ground. So that's first determined who. So someone is going to own that grave. So whoever owns that grave, that information is going to be on the front of the headstone.
Okay.
And then their spouse will be at their time of need. That information will be on the back. You cannot place names on that headstone until that person passes. So you have to wait until that person have died for the information to be printed there.
So is it about rank and seniority? You're saying it's about a culmination of medals and stuff?
So no, it's not about rank and seniority. It's basically about your eligibility.
Okay. You hear that, Andy Dunaway? It's about
the eligibility.
It's about eligibility. I think I'm most eligible. We'll see. I'll have to go to the website to find out. What is the website?
The website is Arlington Cemetery.
I think we actually got it.
I think it's Arlington Cemetery .mil. I mean, I
Hey, if you're on social media, look at the handle at Arling NATL. That's ARLING NATL, and that's across all social media platforms. You'll find that information. I'm holding up their really, really great placard, and you're going to look in the show notes too. Our super producer Holly will have that website there for you. Speaking of information, you guys have a pretty robust educational program too, which has a bunch of information regarding the history of Arlington National Cemetery. The one thing I found out is I'm an Air Force veteran, and the last time I visited, of course, Arlington is one of the most expansive cemeteries I've ever seen. And the Air Force Memorial sits right on the cusp of the cemetery. And as the cemetery continues to inter more veterans, obviously you need more space.
Yes.
You guys are growing. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. So currently we are working on a project. It's called the Southern Expansion.
Okay.
And the Southern Expansion is it will add about 80,000 burial opportunities to Arlington National Cemetery. As you stated, Arlington is running out of space. So with that construction, like I said, we will get about 80,000 burial opportunities once that is completed.
Wow, that's incredible.
All right, we're here with Lexi Milken of Quilts of Valor. Lexi, tell us a little bit about Quilts of Valor. I gotta admit, I don't know much about quilts, but you have some amazing things here. You're doing some really cool work. Tell us about it.
Okay. Yeah, so we're a national nonprofit organization. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary last
Congrats.
year. Yeah, we were started by a woman named Kathryn Roberts, and the idea was to cover veterans and service members with comforting and healing quilts of valor. So we have almost 11,000 members across the United States that are part of about 700 groups that make and award quilts of valor. So these members are creating a handmade quilt that's awarded to a veteran or a service member.
That's fantastic. Now, you said 700 groups.
That's wild.
I imagine, quilting is a very group-oriented effort. Like I imagine like sewing circles. I know when I quilt, I tend to quilt with my sister or my neighbors, other people who like to quilt. And we talk about choosing fabrics and patterns and things like that. And one of the things the American Legion is talking about a lot right now is getting away from isolationism, talking about getting groups together, finding a mutual experience that makes you happy. And quilting is one of those things that makes me happy. I'm a quilter. Can you talk to me a little bit? Have you noticed anything that's happening internally with Quilts of Valor, with your groups, finding that mutual experience? Anything positive happening there?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different kinds of members. Some of our members like to quilt on their own, in their own home. Some people like to be in a group. Some people like to be with family members. And our groups are so different all across the country. Our members are so different. So some people are getting together with their groups in a local church or a Legion hall or at someone's home. Some people are having really small group meetings. Some people are having really big group meetings. And it's so important that we have all of these different members involved because everyone kind of does it in their own way. Of course, as an organization, we have policies and procedures that we ask them to follow, but everyone is at a different place in their quilt making. So we want to involve people that have been making quilts for years and years and people that are new to it. So we have some different things like our Sew Day program, which happens every February, where we encourage our groups to get together. We want them to come together. We want them to get new people involved and, welcome back some members that maybe haven't been as involved. And so they're meeting, as a group for Sew Day to make some quilts or to make some blocks. So that the elements of quilting, to give you a little more information, is you can make a quilt from something like a full panel and add a border around it, or you can piece a quilt from a lot of different pieces to make one overall pattern.
I can see the vacant expression on Adam's face. Adam, are you a sewer?
No, I know. Well, because we were talking about it earlier, and so you're doing a cool pattern.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm relatively new to sewing. I sewed my first quilt probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, cool.
I am really relatively new around a sewing machine, so I'm no expert.
Yeah.
But I've always done free-flowing quilt stuff, and I've never really followed a pattern. So I'm making a quilt for my grandson, and I'm following a pattern now, which is a new experience. And you have to follow these little blocks, and it's quite an experience. I see a Quilt of Valor book right here, and it's got 16 quilt patterns, and I was talking to her about having to follow patterns. It's very complicated. I'm sure that some of these groups would definitely help me through that.
Yes.
Adam, have you sewn before?
No, but I was just thinking, there's probably something therapeutic about, one about the community, like you were talking about, but kind of the repetitive tasks. So I maybe completely separate, but analogy would be mowing the grass. You really get in the zone because you just know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And so you have time to really work on other things. And I would imagine that, depending on how much the conversation is going, you might have the opportunity. I'd be interested, are there a percentage of males that join the quilting clubs?
We have, of course, predominantly women involved in our groups, but we encourage and love it when we have men involved.
Yeah.
And like I said, all different kinds of people are quilters, and so we have those kinds of members. And we have everything from the people that want to follow really specific patterns to people that want to make up their own patterns. And you really, you have to have the 3 elements to make a quilt of the top and the batting and the back, and that's what you call a quilt sandwich. And then when you get done quilting it, you put the binding on. And we really view these quilts, they're not gifts, they're not blankets. It is a handmade award to a veteran or service member, and I think that's really the important thing, that we have these award ceremonies to really show the appreciation for what they've done.
Can you talk a little bit about how do you determine what veteran gets it? I mean, is it kind of community nominated, or I'm sure it's a variation of different ways.
We have a nomination form that's on the website, and there are, because we want to recognize veterans and service members who have been touched by war, we understand that can mean a lot of different things. So it's not necessarily just for someone who's been in combat. There can be other ways that people have been touched by war. So really those are the qualifications, and we have the nomination form where someone can nominate another person, or they can even nominate themselves, and then that goes into our queue of quilt requests, and we, on the back end of that, connect that quilt request with a group in that area.
Okay.
So we have like I said, almost 700 groups all across the country that are connected with these requests, and then they'll reach out to set up a time to award the veteran or service member.
It's so cool because you just think about all the time and effort that goes into that, and it's so different than a certificate or a coin, like whatever. And that's something that's gonna stay with you.
Well, I was gonna say, if you're a not so talented quilter like me, you're gonna put some blood into that, not just sweat and tears. So for all
that little guy, don't worry about that.
For all those quilters out there who are doing the quilts of valor, thank you so much for all the service that you're doing, because these are truly cherished. I have one that I was awarded.
Oh wow!
So and it's in a place of pride in my house. And every quilt of valor has a tag on it that says who made it. And so, of course, it's very, very. I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, that's
because
really cool.
I've had it, I've cherished it, and I hug it. And it's one of those I feel like I'm hugging that person who cared about me enough, perfect stranger, to make that for me.
When did you get it awarded? How long have you had it?
I feel like if you said it's how long the organization been around?
20 years.
I feel like I've had it that long.
Are you serious?
Well,
wow.
I mean. It had to be. What year is it? It's 2024. I got
the year
mine,
of our Lord, 2024.
I think I got mine in 2008ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere like it had to be right after after I was hurt.
And it's so nice to hear your experience receiving a quilt of valor, because the idea is that it brings that comfort and healing. And so although we don't call it a blanket, we love for people to use them in whatever way helps them. So maybe that is hanging it up on a wall and really appreciating the beauty of it. Maybe it is using it
I didn't
it
know
on
I
their
wasn't
bed.
supposed to use it like a blanket.
We don't call it a blanket because it just changes the sort of respect level, I guess.
Okay.
So yes, we want you to use it. If you cuddle up with it on your couch, you hug it like you said. And
in the military, we have a whoopee. In the military, we have a whoopee, and you carry it with you, and it's always that
prized
thing. It's
possession.
Comfort. It's prized possession. I think of my quilt of valor as my whoopee. So, and that
Close
is a
personal
personal thing of love.
The thing that you would get if the building was burning.
It is. What's the Quilt of Valor website?
It's www.qovf.org.
Okay. So if you want to go out there and you want to join a Quilt of Valor sew in circle, you want to sew at home, or better yet, sew in a circle, or you want to put somebody's name in for a quilt, go and check out Quilts of Valor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Such
Thank
cool
you.
work
What
that
a
you're
great,
doing.
what a great thing.
Love it.
The American Legion is raising awareness about PTSD and veteran suicide by offering hope, camaraderie, and support.
Be the one to help end veteran suicide.
Be the one to save one veteran.
Be the one to ask a veteran in your life how they're doing.
Be the one to reach out when a veteran is struggling.
Go to betheone.org and help the American Legion end veteran suicide.
Will you be the one?
All right, guys and gals, we're here with Andre Andrews, the Department of California Chair of the Gaming Commission, the first gaming commission within the American Legion.
Yes, sir.
A lot of cool things happening right now. Other resolutions, other states following suit, but also permeating through, bringing in new members, unlike really anything that we've seen at the Legion. Also a Navy veteran. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you.
Tell us how you got started on this journey.
My name is Andre Andrews. United States Navy. It was the best experience of my life. When I was overseas in Bahrain, when the towers first fell, when like a lot of bad stuff was going on on your regular day of work, when you need something positive to go do, we all went to the Bertha to play Halo. So gaming was a big part of my military career as well, to connect me with other quality veterans. So my military experience was phenomenal, if I answer that question right. Yeah.
How did gaming translate from your military experience to being in the veteran community, and how do you think that's going to influence and translate to the American Legion and the membership here?
How I utilized video games when I was active duty was the connection and the community.
Yeah.
It was a sense of group, like obviously we all in the military, it's already a group of eclectic people or whatever, but you can get a little smaller group of nerds almost together in technology. So that connection and comfort was really my driving force. And I've been a Legionnaire for the past 10 years now. I started at Hollywood Post 43, got picked up and recruited to go to Pacific Palisades Post 283. And what I've noticed is we was losing these communities, even inside of the American Legion, because a lot of young people does not really want to just go to the bar and have a drink. You know, we want to do something a little bit more exciting, if I want to call it. So we just started gaming together with veterans a few years ago, and then we just thought, man, maybe we could do this at our post, and how exciting would this be if we just tried it at our post? And we started a few years ago, started catching some traction. Then my post got involved. They started to like what we was doing, and they gave us a little bit of budget. So it really helped us increase us within the last 2 or 3 years for sure. And that's why we're here this year with the National Resolution for Gaming.
So you guys also debuted some of these processes and systems as far as like the gaming system,
Yes, sir.
and also what you're trying to build in the community at Fleet Week in LA, right? Tell
Yes,
us
sir.
a little bit about that and what you guys were able to accomplish.
We did a Fleet Week, San Pedro this year. It was a phenomenal experience. Jarek was there. So what we thought about doing with Fleet Week was, because we've been doing the Fleet Weeks before, but nothing never like this, on this scale either. So real quick, we seen an opportunity because we know a big ship was going to come into town. This year was the first time in 10 years that a carrier came to LA. So we knew it was going to have maybe 5,000 sailors come down there. So it was like, well, how do we make this best impact with all these sailors? At first, we was going to get like a small 10 by 20 booth and just do a small setup. But then when we started understanding the impact we could have on this particular community, my post chose to invest more funds into it. And we got a 20 by 80 booth. And like I said, we really built out the booth. Yeah, it was kind of cool. We put couches. We had about 20 video game stations there. And a bunch of sailors and Marine Corps active duty troops just kept coming by the booth. And they always like, we want an opportunity to play games with the American Legion as well. So a lot of them signed up, and we ended up pulling 366 members from this event in San Pedro. So I think it was the biggest of the state for sure.
Did you keep a record of like how many sailors and Marines came through the booth?
100%. And what we did the first year, we did it paper. So I had to count it myself. So every human came in there, filled out the paper, and put what branch of service they was in and what games they like to play as well.
Yeah.
So technically that night I was able to manage how many people and what type of games they play. So it was a whole bunch of different games, PlayStation, Xbox people in there, but it was a lot of nerds that wanted computer games. So it was a phenomenal experience reading these people who really gave us their information just for video games.
So it sounds like you got a great idea, something that the younger generation, our generation, really want to get behind.
Yes, sir.
You got a great concept that you tested in Fleet Week, driving membership. Your post is investing in it.
Yes, sir.
But then there's another part of it which is happening in multiple states. Some resolutions that are happening, and other things at the bigger levels within national. Can you talk in state department level? Can you talk a little bit about that and the progress you've seen?
For sure. So this is our third year working with American Legion Gaming. It's American Legion branded gaming, so we're not like Regiment, it's not like a stack up or anything like that. So it's a pretty unique experience that we get an opportunity to be a program within the Legion. So, how can I come back to that question again so I can make sure?
Yeah, just talking about the resolutions.
Okay, that's where I'm at this year. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's
going.
So
the fact that we've been here for 3 years, doing it for 3 years, we had to work on a state resolution first. We got the state resolution passed. Then I was expressed that we have to get other departments to get buy-in as well, so national can get buy-in. So we've sent out our resolution to 20 or 30 different departments. Right now we had 12 departments that did pass our resolution right now. So we need about like 25 more. The national said they will look at us as like a national program, but we have to get other departments to play along with us, and that's the main goal of me. This convention is talking to as many department commanders as I can and putting a resolution in their hands, so I can go back to my post and say, hey, I talked to 40 different department commanders that all have the resolution and they are ready to go. So hopefully the resolution will be ready for NEC so we can pass the national program this year. That's the goal, yeah. So it's a lot of political talk now outside of gaming, so it's kind of tough trying to keep up both faces a little bit.
But you should be positioned for it with all your strategy gaming. It's just carrying over into the real world.
I want to be a player, but now you can't be a player, so it's a little tough, but yeah.
That has to be kind of like a trial by fire. It sounds like a lot of politicking too.
It is a lot of politicking behind the scenes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But what about like okay, so like my post is like rural conservative, like Alabama. We ain't got the budget to put in what'd you say, a 20 by 80?
Well, 20 by 8 booth.
Yeah.
Our
but like,
posts,
what are you saying for like posts that want to maybe think about this and just kind of practically?
True.
You know?
And on my little presentation here, we gave a little price point breakdown. there's some small price points that you can start, but there's mobile gaming you could do on your iPhone right now. There's mobile gaming communities that if you're an older person and you don't have access to internet, but you got Wi-Fi on not Wi-Fi, but you got access to internet on your phone and not like a gaming console, you can still game with us. You can do Call of Duty mobile and still do mobile gaming with us.
Yeah.
The goal right now is connection and community. Build this community out together with the Legionnaires, and hopefully next year we have a big esports competition here at National Convention with Department.
That could be fun.
That would be real cool.
Alabama versus California.
That's right.
Playing
Let's
Call
go.
of Duty.
I'm
we need to get our booth before we start competing with California.
I know. I'm picturing like a big center booth with just a bunch of gamers. I can see this.
Okay.
Listen, I'm not a gamer. My husband was. He had very colorful language. He would wear like the big headset and the microphone and be like playing people online, mainly other military folks.
Ma'am.
And I'd be like beep beep. I'm like, didn't you do that stuff real life enough? No, they couldn't get enough. So anyway, I relate.
Yes, ma'am.
Not my jam,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
there's a lot of people's jam.
It's just a vehicle. We want to utilize this vehicle here on a national level.
And I get it. It makes sense.
Well, I think it's incredible. It's incredible what you're doing. It's incredible the spark that you're igniting and figuring out, how to engage and be relevant, with the gaming and what you're actually doing, but then also navigating the complexity of, trying to get buy-in across the Legion.
Yes, sir.
And the things that are worth doing right and pursuing it even when it's challenging. So hats off to you. Excited to see it grow and everything. Would love to maybe even have you back on the podcast to almost like a tutorial, maybe kind of talking through how you could set up and maybe giving some more deep dive into some of these things, because then when that information gets out, some of the posts can take that and really start kind of figuring
Right now
out.
we have a toolkit.
Oh, okay.
If you go on AmericanLegion.gg, you can get our toolkit. Both the resolutions on there right now, and all of our contact information. So if anybody out there want to get started at their department, as soon as they leave this convention, we have a toolkit ready to go.
Andre Andrews wrote the script on this, guys. He's literally got it laid out for you. You don't have to do a lot of elbow grease. He's got it ready for you, and obviously the return on investment is there. So the proof's in the pudding. There's folks out there that want this, and they want the community. So get out there. What's the website? One more time.
AmericanLegionGaming.gg.
There you go. Hey everybody, I'm sitting here with two very special guests. We're Colin Wright and Christina Lonegrove, and they are with Advocate Health Advisors' very, very cool special branch. It's called VetaCare, and that is for us, the veterans. I'm not going to talk too much about it because these two know all about it, and we want to hear it right from their lips. They've been guests on the show before, so we're going to have that episode in the show notes. You can go back into that, but we're going to talk about what's going on up to date. Tell us a little bit about what you're sharing here at the convention. What's new, what's happening, what's going on?
VetaCare is our new term.
Okay.
We rolled that out. It's just a combination of veterans benefits and Medicare smashed together. It's totally our word. We actually trademarked it. And the successes just keep on piling on top of each other. When we started a few years ago, we want veterans to understand that there are plans out there that can complement your VA coverage. There may be some things that you don't get at the VA. You may want closer, quicker, specialists of your own choosing, outside second opinion. And we've evolved, and we really did with all three buckets of military health care now. We also work with TRICARE and CHAMP VA. Those pay second and last. And that first payer, most folks start out with original Medicare and that. And we can show them how to take that original Medicare sort of as the funding source. And we use companies like WellCare, and they have these plans that not only do what original Medicare does, but then they add all these great things on that we don't get through TRICARE, CHAMP VA. Some don't get at the VA, like dental, vision, hearing, and they get to the end of some of these, and they even have a little bit left over after they make a nice plan. And you'll see some of the commercials on TV that talk about getting some of your money back. That's where the money back comes from, because when we give this to a for-profit company, they just sort of mind the ship a little bit better, and they do more for less. The thing that I love about it is it's causing us to detect things earlier, live longer, happier, healthier lives, and avoid misery. And it's just the old adage of prevention versus cure, and we really believe in that here. So I'll stop and let the brains of the operation talk here.
Okay. Well, I think it's most important is that veterans understand they have two armed benefits. They have military benefits, whether it be VA health care, CHAMP VA for those spouses, or TRICARE for Life, which could be for both, right? And we want to make sure they know the process that it's important that they keep Medicare Part B especially, so that they can access some of these additional benefits. And we have learned how to do that, making sure that veterans are getting the right information along with their spouses.
Now, is that even for veterans who are like 100% service connected?
Yes, it would be, because there are still some things that veterans do not receive when they're 100%, and that they don't receive at the VA. And that could be, they do have dental care, they have vision care, but they may not have all the options that they would want to have. For example, implants. We know that some of the carriers will provide implants, and they don't carry that at the VA currently. You may have someone who wants over-the-counter benefits or gym membership. They're not able to get that through YMCA anymore with that relationship, and so now part of Whole Health can include a gym membership plan.
Now, is this something that happens like at an annual enrollment, or can a veteran come and get the combination of these at any specific time? Or
Perfect question.
What's that process like, and how do you guys kind of help support the veteran through this?
Perfect question. You got this season where you can't even watch a ball game for all the commercials from Medicare.
That's right.
But veterans actually have an enrollment period that exists year-round.
Okay.
And it's based on where they get their prescription drug coverage from. There's probably 2 million people almost that have a life and health license in the nation. We have about 600 agents that have received the Medicare certification, and we'll utilize them to talk to the veterans that get those benefits that they know. But they know how to use that enrollment period. And then there's always just enrollment periods that exist. CMS makes a lot of exceptions for things like a disaster or something like that may have affected someone's ability to make an informed decision during and that's really our goal. We want somebody to make an informed decision. Very often we'll talk to a veteran and we'll say, okay, look, you're using the VA, you've got a great plan, and there's your first payer, you got TRICARE, you understand how it works, don't change a thing. And then they sort of give us a look. I'm like, seriously, don't change a thing. Here's my card. Don't let anybody call you on the phone and convince you to change a thing. Because if they're not a Medicare certified agent, they may get it right, but I know our folks will get it right because we put them through the ringer on the certification process. They get so frustrated, me and Christine, because they have to make 100 on the certification, and then they can come to events like this. But it is probably the most rewarding, feel-good job you could ever have because it literally saves and changes lives on a regular basis. Christina has an example of a gentleman that was seeing multiple oncologists. Everyone knew he was a Vietnam veteran. None of them were VA doctors, so they didn't really think the service connected. Christina got involved, full 100% permanent total, so now the wife gets some benefits for that. He passed away like a couple weeks later.
Oh, man.
So that was a life-impacting. One of the first guys I ever met, Frank Babbitt, down in Naples, Florida, a wonderful guy, plank holder on the USS Independence when it rolled out of the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Frank was paying $2,400 a month plus over-the-counter, full retail price for his medicines, because they'd heard about a Part D penalty, but just didn't know how bad it really was. Took him to the VA, got his cost down to $8, and a few other great benefits.
That really angers me.
It's just
On
I
so
don't
many
really
levels.
think there's I don't think there's anybody out there that does things maliciously.
Right, they just happen over time. Right,
Yeah.
the system.
We've just got a unique opportunity, and I got to give a shout out to our CEO, Darwin Hill, who's a retired colonel from the Army. This is our passion play. He said to me, take your time, learn all 4 systems that you need to know, because you have to know VA, VA, TRICARE, Medicare, and more importantly, how they work together, and in some cases, how they don't work together. So we've got a very unique opportunity to advocate, and I love what we do. I don't think I'll ever retire.
I feel like a lot of veterans are pretty skeptical because we're one of the most preyed upon communities. So, when somebody approaches like, hey, you should come talk to us, I think when I sat down with you guys, obviously, my guards are very up, and I'm like very protective of the veteran community too.
Yeah,
so I'm like,
when
you said you're a veteran and your dad's a veteran and it's a veteran-owned company, I'm like immediately oh god, this sort of immediate exhale.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I think that happens, and then when you hear these success stories, that also is sort of validating too. And like, how did that make you feel hearing that you were able to come through for that veteran and having such
and probably the countless others that you
I
have,
think
right?
it really warms my heart, honestly. It's definitely a passion for me to work with veterans and to be able to help them. I just sat with someone today, and he had no idea what he was going to do. And you could see the scared look on his face. He said, why doesn't anybody tell me this? Why didn't I know about having Medicare and that my wife could lose her benefits if I don't sign up for it? And he has TRICARE currently, and he'll have TRICARE for life, but no one told him.
And the military does a pretty good job now when you leave the program. When I left active duty, it was almost like an 18-month phased-in process to get out. That wasn't the case when some of our Medicare eligible veterans were leaving the military. Some of them got to see you, don't wear your uniform home. And it was a disservice then, and it is now too. And that's really where we pick up, because Christina's right. We'll have veterans almost get upset with us sometimes, like not really at us, but they're like, why is nobody telling us this stuff? And I'm like, I can't tell you anything, because me and Christina, we're on the road like 200 days a year trying to tell it as hard as we can. So, which is why thank you for letting us be here too.
Well, we're so appreciative to have you, and maybe a little bit of a fun question, because Christina, your dad was a past national commander, right, of the Legion. So what's it like, coming to the convention? I bet it's almost kind of like a homecoming of sorts. And is there anything that's kind of really stood out to you guys as one of your favorite parts so far, other than the podcast?
Honestly, for me, it is like coming home.
Yeah.
I know so many people. I know people on the national level that I've asked about. There's younger veterans that I've been able to say, hey, you need to get involved. And in fact, one of the gentlemen who's with me today, Brandon, he's going to be a member of not just the American Legion, 8 years in the Air Force, but he's also going to join the Sons of the American Legion. So it's so awesome, because I'm able to bring others to that same family. So I love it.
I love that.
That's tremendous.
I like the partnership that we got with WellCare. WellCare has really taken this, because we've seen companies, unnamed, come and go. And this is a great company. They immediately recognize what we do and why we're different. Because the thing about it, if I let you do it, I got to let everybody do it. It's dead in the water when you listen to who we are and what we do. And they did. And I can't say enough good stuff about the relationship so far with the American Legion, WellCare, Advocate, all of us working together.
Well, thank you, Christina. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Well, they're definitely.
Thank you.
I should say, you look around this booth that we're in right now, recording this session. They are one of the key sponsors of the convention here and this booth. So thank you, WellCare.
Yes.
If
shout
veterans,
out WellCare.
Shout out to WellCare. Episode 93 is where we recorded for the Advocate Healthcare Advisor. So if you want to check out that original episode, go back and listen to that. Also, if we want to find your website, where can Alphas find you?
You can find us at advocatehealthadvisors.com.
Okay.
We do have an area where you can select veterans, and we also have advocateforveterans.com.
All right,
Spell that word for.
Yep.
Well, that has to be like the longest and the quickest week all in one. What do you think, Adam?
It went by fast. It was awesome. And I'm really looking forward for the opportunity to do this again. I'm going to be in Tampa next year. But it's not over yet. There's still a few more things left for this convention, right?
Yes. The general session is going to be live, gavel to gavel. So if you want to stay tuned, you can watch it live and see all the really great things that are yet to come. Be sure to do that.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.